Ano nga ba yung mga importanteng bagay na dapat nating malaman sa laban ng Burmese Ghouls at Bren Esports sa Grand Finals ng M2? Sa Mobile Legends Guide na to, pag-uusapan natin kung bakit umabot ng Game 7 ang napakagandang championship na to. Pero bago tayo magsimula, gusto ko munang malaman nyo na lahat na sasabihin ko dito ay base lamang sa opinion ko. Okay? Let's go!
Brilliance here, but I don't think he's going to survive with the help of Lusty. Could he maybe turn this around? Oh no,
Ruby.
Here comes the kill squad. It's going to be Ruby DD chasing after Lusty here as maybe is trying to run few down. If he doesn't take it finally using the execute, but here comes Ace. He's able to get that kill onto Lusty. It's going to be
Sisimulan muna natin sa drafting dahil ito ang pinakamalaking dahilan kung bakit umabot ng Game 7 ang laban na to. Ipapaliwanag ko na siya as buo kasi kung iisa-isahin natin ang bawat game, kukulangin ng isang video. Pag-uusapan natin yung unang tatlong ban ng bawat team. Sa first game, makikita nyo priority ban ng Bren is yung Diggy, Brody, tsaka Natalia. Yung Diggy ay respect ban dahil ito yung nagpahirap sa kanila nung nakalaban nila yung Burmese. Maliban doon, yan din yung hero na nagpalaglag sa RRQ laban sa Burmese. Pagdating naman sa kanila, ang first 3 ban nila is Esmeralda, Benedetta, tsaka Selena. Hindi ko sigurado kung bakit priority ban nila ang Esmeralda, pero ang Selena is respect ban. Sa game 1, priority pick ng Burmese is yung Yuzong at ang counter ng Brendon is Baxia. At dahil open yung Matilda, priority pick din ng Bren Esports yun. Pagdating ng Game 2, ganun pa rin yung ban ng Bren, pero binigay ng Burmese yung Selena. Maliban doon, priority pa rin ng Burmese yung Yuzong at dahil nga open pa rin yung pang-counter na Baxia, kaya lalo pa rin nahirapan yung Burmese. Isa pa, ang main core sa series na to is Claude at YSS. At dahil binan ng Burmese yung Claude at hindi naman nila priority pick yung YSS, kaya lalo pa silang nahirapan nung nakuha ng Bren yon. Pagdating ng Game 3, ganun pa rin yung first 3 ban ng Bren, tapos tinanggal na ng Burmese yung Baxia at Selena. Maliban doon dahil first pick yung Burmese nung laro na to, kaya napick nila yung Matilda. Pero pagdating sa lineup, tingin ko match na match yung laban nung Game 3. Ang hindi ko lang nagustuhan sa lineup ng Bren, ginawa nilang support yung Benedetta at side lane yung Kagura. Tingin ko mas okay kung nagharit side lane na lang sila or Louis support. Pero dahil nga sila ang nasa pro scene, kaya mas alam nila yan. Maliban doon dahil nga may oras na hinahabol kapag nagda-draft, kaya possible talagang hindi mo mabasa lahat ng hero. Pagdating ng Game 4, ganun pa rin yung ban ng Bren, tapos inopen ng Burmese yung Baxia. At dahil maganda yung result ng Baxia sa Bren, kaya finers pick nila yon. Ang hindi nga lang nila ine-expect, gaya nga na sinabi ko kanina, ang dalawang core na naglalaban sa series nito is YSS at Claude. Sa Game 4, pinik agad ng Burmese yung dalawang hero na yon. Maliban doon, tinanggalan nila ng mga late game heroes yung Bren para kung sakaling tumagal yung laban, hindi sila makakasabay. Pagdating ng Game 5, iniba na naman ng Burmese yung ban nila. At dahil first pick sila, kaya inunahan na nila ng Selena yung Bren. Maliban doon, mas pinili ni Carl TC mag-YSS kaysa sa Claude. At dahil nakaban nga yung Baxia sa laro na to, kaya yung comfort pick ng Burmese na Yuzong is nakuha rin nila. At dito na pumapasok yung Game 6. Kung papansin nyo, nagpalit na ng ban yung Bren. Inopen na nila yung Natalia tsaka Brody, maliban doon binan na rin nila yung dalawang marksman. Yan din yung pag-uusapan nating laro mamaya kasi yan yung isa sa pinakamagandang laban nila. At pagdating sa Game 7, dahil first pick yung Burmese, kaya isang core lang yung binan ng Bren para makuha nila yung isa. Maliban doon, binan ulit nila yung Natalia para hindi ma-counter yung marksman. Ito pa lang yung first phase ng drafting nila pero napakarami pang nangyari pagdating sa second phase. Hindi ko na iisa-isahin pa yon kasi masyado nang mahaba. Ngayon, dediretso na tayo sa Game 6. Kung mapapansin nyo sa drafting pa lang, dahil nga open ng Brody, kaya priority pick yun ng Bren. At dahil nga hindi binan ng Burmese yung Baxia, para hindi ma-counter yung Yuzong nila, kaya ipipick na lang din nila yung Baxia. Sunod, kung mapapansin nyo, naka-open pa yung Natalia sa sitwasyon na to. Pero hindi yun pwedeng i-pick ng Bren. Dahil nga, nakaban yung mga priority core na malalambot, kaya ibig sabihin, ang pwede nilang gamitin ng Burmese na core is either Roger o kaya mag-assassin sila. At para ma-secure din nila yung late game, kaya ipipick ng Bren yung Alice. Palaging nababan sa second phase yung Alice, kaya pinik na lang nila agad yon. Maliban doon, kinuha na rin nila yung Lunox para meron silang pamburst sa mga makukunat na hero. At dahil nga open yung Natalia, kaya kukunin na ng Burmese yun. Pagdating sa dalawang huling ban ng Burmese, tingin ko hindi magandang nagban pa sila ng tank na hero. Dahil nga open pa yung 4 na tank na madalas nilang ginagamit, yung Sylvana, Cho, Johead at Atlas, kaya kahit hindi sila magban, may makukuha at makukuha pa rin yung Bren. Tingin ko mas maganda kung nagban na lang sila ng isa pang side lane hero. Pero pagtapos ng mga ban, maganda yung Parsa pick ng Burmese dito. Ang magiging problema nga lang ng Parsa nila dito is hindi siya magpe-flicker o kaya purify. Makikita niyo mamaya yung mangyayari sa kanya dahil flame shot yung pinili niya. At dahil nga hindi nagban ng side lane na hero yung Burmese, kaya open pa yung Benedetta. Pati na rin yung tank Chu. At pagdating sa last pick ng Burmese, napakaganda pa rin ang Hayabusa pick nila dito. Dahil nga isa yan sa mga main hero ng BG, kaya magiging maganda yung laban na to. Pagdating sa laro na to, ang una nyong mapapansin, 3 ang naka-execute sa Burmese tapos naka-flame shot yung Parsa. Tingin ko kaya hindi nag-revitalize yung back siya kasi wala naman siyang ipoprotect sa laro na to. Pero para sa akin tingin ko mas maganda pa rin nag-revitalize siya para mas lalo siyang tumagal sa gitna ng teamfight. At pagdating naman kay Parsa, dapat nag-flicker pa rin siya o kaya purify. Malalaman nyo mamaya kung bakit. Sunod na kailangan nyo malaman, kung makikita nyo sa bottom lane, dalawa yung katapat ni Flap. Kung napanood nyo yung video natin ng Alter Ego versus Bren, malalaman nyo na nagbaback up agad si Lasty sa side lane kung nasan yung dalawang kalaban. Pero sa sitwasyon na to, napakagandang adjustment yung ginawa ni Pew. Dahil nakaabante na si Lasty sa red buff ng kalaban, kaya siya na lang yung nag-rotate pababa para matulungan si Benedetta. Isa to sa mga simpleng high IQ plays na kailangan nyo tandaan para hindi rin mag-up yung mga kakampi nyo. Kailangan nyo tandaan, bihirang manalo ang mag-isa sa dalawang katapat niya lalo na sa pro scene. At kung naglalaro ka ng simpleng rank game at ayaw mo mabugbog yung kakampi mo at mag-feed, mas maganda tulungan nyo sila. Kung titingin ka naman sa minimap, makikita mo si Brody papuntang bottom lane. At dahil nga walang flicker o kaya purify yung Parsa, kaya ito yung mangyayari.
And now he's being stuck in between. I'm not too sure if this is definitely the good call coming from Bren Esports, but View tries to pressure the rest of Burmese Ghouls all the way backwards. So lucky enough, he will be able to escape. But Dado, this is first blood for Kaltizi.
Hindi ko sigurado kung makakatakas siya kung meron siyang flicker o kaya purify. Pero dahil sa tagal ng stun ng Brody, kaya kahit puno yung buhay niya, kaya siyang maburst agad. At gaya nga ng laging rotation ng Bren, kung mapapansin nyo si Flap TC sa bottom lane, para makapunta siya ng turtle, magkakat na agad siya sa bottom. Pero dahil mas malakas yung hero ng Burmese Ghouls sa early game, kaya ito yung mangyayari.
A lot of contestant here, especially between RubyDD and with the help of Kid, it's becoming a bit tough, but Kid doesn't necessarily... Oh, he's kind of low here. This is going to be risky for both sides. Now, the fight is going to work here. Kid is going to be able to find that execute on to Joe, and unfortunately, that's going to be Burmese Ghouls picking this up, and it's going to be Farsa going to be zoning the rest out. Phew! He's kind of low, and now... Oh! The headshot with the flames!
Huwag nyo kakalimutan yung flame shot na ginawa ng Parsa sa laro na to at yun ang unang kill niya. Ngayon punta na tayo sa sunod na objective. Kung mapapansin nyo yung rotation dito ni Carl TC, magsa-setup na naman sila sa top lane kasi dun yung turtle. Ang problema nga lang dahil pwedeng maging aggressive yung Burmese Ghouls sa early game, kaya ito yung mangyayari.
More harder in this game of hide and seek, but you know, Flap TZ is gonna have to contribute in towards the late game because at least the side of Bren Esports, they have some insurance, and here comes the fight.
Oh, maybe he's already started the initiation with RubyDD jumping into the backline. TC is now in trouble, but now Rebo taking a full hit of the Oki Shadow kill. Really clean initiation coming in from the Burmese Ghouls, but does Bren want to look for some, you know, retribution kills? No, it looks like they back away.
Namatay si Carl TC tsaka Rebo sa teamfight na yon, pero dahil cooldown yung mga ultimate ng kalaban, kaya ito yung nangyari.
Goals will be able to secure not only goal, but okay, just goal for the moment. But Lusty going for the catch onwards. RubyDD, they try to make a run. Waiter Dragon already connects, and there goes Yuzong.
Yep.
At dahil wala ang Yuzong, ibig sabihin pwede nilang kunin yung turtle. Pero isa sa pinakamagandang strategy ng Burmese Ghoul, hindi sila pumapayag ng makukuha nyo yung turtle nang walang kapalit. Kadalasan pinupush nila yung opposite side ng turtle kung hindi nila kayang kunin yon. Maliban doon, hindi lang isang hero ang nagro-rotate pa opposite side para makabawi sila.
Stay near, Rebo there almost going down and maybe to secure the kill.
Sa sitwasyon na to, napatay nila si Rebo kaya kahit papano meron silang bawi. Kung sakali nag-rotate pa turtle side si Rebo, kadalasan ginagawa ng Burmese Ghoul is kunin na agad yung tower. Yun yung isang paraan na pwede nyong gawin kung sakaling hindi nyo kaya makipagsabayan sa early game at hindi nyo kayang kunin yung turtle. Sa sitwasyon na to, naghahanap ng kills yung Burmese Ghouls kasi nga meron silang dalawang assassin. Hindi sila dapat makipag-unahan ng farm sa kalaban kasi mas mahihirapan sila sa late game, lalo na sa Alice.
Of these games, and now Baptiste managed to actually make a little bit of the move, but maybe is so bold on this move, but he catches few instead. Order spins being popped up as they all get knocked into the air. Wave of the Dragon will get a kill for Kaltizi.
RubyDD trying to get on top of it, but it's not looking too good. He gets hit by the execute coming in from maybe. A few manages to get on out of there. Now the feather airstrike does come down to Kitten, forcing a retreat, but he can't really do too much as he's just sitting down hoping he doesn't die. He knew he was going to die, so he just runs back, says emo, hello, hello, goes down.
2 for 1 yung naging trade sa laban na yon at dahil nga nasa top side na naman yung turtle kaya sa top lane na naman magro-rotate ang Bren. Isa pang mapapansin nyo, hindi ganun kalaki yung damage ng Brody kasi nga naka-defensive item siya. Isa to sa advantage ni Brody. Kahit na naka-defensive build ka, meron pa rin siyang damage. Maliban doon, kaya niya ginawa yung defensive item na to dahil nga dalawa yung assassin ng kalaban at dahil merong Natalia. Ito yung build na hindi nyo basta-basta magagawa sa ibang marksman. Dahil nga kaya pa rin mag-deal ng damage ng Brody kahit naka-defensive item, kaya kung gagawin nyo sa ibang marksman to, hindi kayo magde-deal ng damage. Tanging si Chooks lang ang kayang mag-deal ng damage kahit Layla tank.
Flushing out maybe, but good news for Bren Esports, they finally get a turret right here, and the insurance policy that I mentioned in the form of Kaltizi actually working very well for them.
Yeah, it's going well, and you know, Ace, he's getting that push onto that mid lane here, but maybe he's trying to distract them as much as possible with the Toys Poissons. But Kaltizi, he's not really into the idea. Something is up, and RubyDD does come from the engage on towards that flanking through mid, but few not all about it as well. It goes into that brilliance, but this is where the fight is going to get interesting. Rebolt can decide to actually go in. This is it. Lusty looking for an opportunity to jump on it. RubyDD is trying to hold him up, but D into a sideways. They don't realize it. They're going to use the feathered airstrike, trying to check down few, but Lusty is able to cancel it off. They pick him off. There goes Kid. There goes D. And now the entire backline is gone. Bren can start focusing on the front line. RubyDD is the next to fall. A double kill coming in from Flatteezy. And maybe he just needs to sacrifice his life to allow Ace to live for the greater good.
What did I tell you? This is a great activation coming from Bren Esports. And
Sa sitwasyon na to, dikit pa yung laban, pero dahil nga nakatank item si Kaltizi, kaya ibig sabihin wala ganong matatarget yung Natalia. Pero hindi pa rin titigil yung Burmese dito maging aggressive.
Blade of Despair already being purchased by Ace.
Oh, D, he's once again, he's gonna really take it there. But now Few, he's on the run. He doesn't want to be a part of this no more. No, don't do it. He quickly goes into his brilliance here, but I don't think he's gonna survive. With the help of Lusty, could he maybe turn this around? Oh no,
Ruby.
Here comes the kill squad. It's gonna be RubyDD chasing after Lusty here as maybe is trying to run Few down. If he doesn't take it finally using the execute, but here comes Ace. He's able to get that kill onto.
At dahil wala namang objective sa bottom lane na pwedeng kunin ng Burmese, kaya maganda yung gagawin ni Flap dito na mag-split push na lang kaysa bumakap doon. At para maging even yung trade, susubukan din ng Burmese basagin yung second tower sa bottom lane. Dahil doon, kaya ito yung nangyari.
Yeah, and I definitely like this sort of trait, but Rainbow has already arrived. Blood ult being popped up, trying to tank every single hit coming from the side of Burmese Ghouls. He gets popped, but here comes Kaltizi though. He's trying to tear them apart, but maybe he's trying to run for it. Baptiste has just arrived, and hello, meet the Electo, and Kid coming in from the back as well. They tried to dance this one off. One last shot does it. It's a double kill for Kaltizi.
This is huge. Bren is gigantic here. I mean, you gotta give it to him. Brody was a problem, and I think everybody understands why.
TZ connection. This is the TZ brothers, and they do not want their dream to end here.
Ruby is coming right in to disrupt the flow, but here comes D. He gets popped up. This is looking pretty tough, but Bren Esports, they finally get the Lord, but here comes Revo. He tries to hold on. Kaltizi, 12 minutes from dropping down. Maybe the last member standing in this Lord pit for Burmese.
Dahil sa pinilit bumawi ng Burmese Ghouls sa tower na nabasag sa top lane, kaya nangyari yung teamfight na yon. Pagdating naman dito, hindi ko sigurado kung binibait nila yung Natalia Pero nung nagkaroon sila ng exclamation point, gumamit agad ng first skill si Pew para mawala yung passive ng Natalia. Yun yung dahilan kung bakit hindi pa rin namatay si Carl TC doon. At dahil meron silang Lord, ibig sabihin mas madali silang makakapag-push. Maliban doon, tingnan nyo maigi kung anong mangyayari sa Parsa dahil nga wala siyang Purify.
Just look at the items. I can't go into explain more, Butters. You gotta do this.
Okay, alright, let me do this. Now, Kid is planning to go for the Blade of Despair. I've lost my words here. But the items are now out. Let's just go here. Lusty goes in, catches this Farsa, and that is going to be the first line of defense down. And these are going to be turrets falling very low. Few in the middle of everything. He has a lot of lifesteal.
Yeah, the re-engagement from Burmese Ghouls they are considering, but they realize no waves, no go. They don't have the members to pull this off, and not to mention, I mean, Flaptizi, they don't know exactly where he is. And once again, the inhibitors are under scrutiny here, and finally they break the mid inhibitor. Few finally getting his Holy Crystal, and they want to push in for more.
This is the gameplay that we have been waiting for from the side of Bren Esports. Slow and steady, he does it, but look at Kid though, he's in the position right here. Ruby DD, he tries to buy a little bit more time, looking for the flank angles here. They're looking for the kill onwards maybe, and they do get it, but Kid, he gets popped out. This is big news for Bren Esports as they are now reaching right in. Flaptizi goes in to take them down, but Yuzo managed to stop what they are looking for right there. Yeah, you can definitely notice that this itself has been pretty much on a seesaw ride, and Flaptizi looking for that catch. And from the back, it's going to be Flaptizi that will be cutting right in, trying to connect that Electo onwards members, but it's going to be Kid here that is getting chased down. So how long can this Natalia go?
He just has to buy time. Kid is just looking to buy as much time as possible as the rest of the team is rotating towards the bottom side of the map. However, mid prior isn't there either, so regardless, Ace, he can't get caught.
We are dragging in towards the middle, and you can see the Lulux have been tearing them apart. And there goes Ridity. He's getting chased by. Maybe it's retreating right now. This might just be the turf pick that they've been looking for. But look at how tanky he is. He's still diving over the backline. Flame Chop misses, but Lusty, he's making a way for a retreat. Flaptizi now tries to dive right back in towards the fight. Flaptizi, he tries to shred them, but
look at this, Cards! 1v3!
Oh, he wants to take this all for himself. Ruby DD tries to go with the black table. He doesn't go. The Dragon Tail does not connect in time, and Flaptizi secures that kill. Oh boy, this fight. It's so close. It is so close. It comes down to a wire's edge, and we're seeing double ults coming out now.
Isa pang dahilan kung bakit napakaganda ng Ali sa late game, kung makikita nyo dito, once na makakuha ng blue buff si Rebo, hindi niya natatanggalin yung ultimate niya.
Objective, Lord.
Burmese Ghouls may not be able to come back anymore. Here comes Maybe though. Just try to get vision. Lord is now in favor of Bren Esports. All they have to do, go in for the reset.
To take out the Lord as well as the side-empowered wave Lord minions as well.
Last minute, the Lord has already been bought from the side of Kaltizi. Now, they've already cleared out the Lord, so great execution coming from the side of Burmese Ghouls, but look at all the minions marching right in from the lower side. Maybe tries to pull this off and order villains in return for the feathered airstrike. Bren Esports looking to tear up the turret, and here comes the last Hura, and Bren Esports looking to push it in towards Game 7, and Burmese Ghouls have to defend this one. Flaptizi goes in for the act, though, trying to cut off all these waves. The field gets purchased down. Not looking all too good for Bren Esports right now. They are looking to turn this one around. Ace get kicked all the way towards the back. Lusty, Ripple, they're on the retreat. Same goes to Flaptizi. Kaltizi still got full health, though. He's looking to turn this one. Rubinity, he just have to advance forward with this sort of up being in the up for contention. Definitely Kaltizi should be able to get this one, as this goes on a slight reset, only for one exchange.
Oh my goodness, Bren unable to crack open the Burmese Ghouls. They do profit a lot with those two inhibitors, but can they finish off this game already? They've got that lead. However, if one more fight occurs and the Burmese Ghouls defend against them, oh no, Bren, Flaptizi, he can't get caught out like this. The Courage Mask has already been popped here, but he wants to go for more. He's getting a bit greedy. He's going to get hit with the Electo, but now he's able to actually go for the eye for the eye. BG, they're stuck. They're out in the open. Kid, he's going to get on out of there. The rest of Bren, they're looking to cut them off. Ace, he's going to pull on through. Does he get hit by find any CC. No, he doesn't. He goes into the Oki. Shadow kill for. Maybe he's going to get caught out. Ace
Ruby!
manages to make it out. Now, in the backline, RubyDD trying to finish off Baptiste here. So close. Electo, final blow, makes it out. And this is going to be a free kill for Karltzy as he takes out RubyDD. And the rest of the team is able to kind of peel them back 2-0 in favor of Bren.
Lusty, just the ever reliable Lusty, just getting the right moment to go for this. And he got the Winter Truncheon, but will it matter? Will it even matter?
No, it does not. Oki, shadow kill. Go away, Kid! He calls it to the back line. He's trying to take out Phil. Kid is the next to fall. The brilliance. There it is. Bren, bring it to a Game 7.
Sana may natutunan ka sa video na to at kung meron kang guide na gusto may paggawa, i-comment mo lang sa baba, susubukan gumawa ng guide tungkol doon. Kaya kung hindi ka pa nakasubscribe, hit mo na yung subscribe pati yung notification bell. Basta lagi mo lang tatandaan, kung gusto mo mag-improve, just master the basics. I'm out.